on the potential for a cultural trade for my heritage travel trip series. So I'm filming this Thursday, 7 November 2024. I'm Tanis Coralee Leonhardi, she, her, hers of Seattle, and I'm going to ponder the potential for a cultural trade for my heritage travel trip series regarding me being of European and Native American, a Euro Native American ancestry, specifically Lakota and Duwamish ancestry. Per my classification, my Lakota ancestors are most culturally similar to the Chinese, while my Duwamish ancestors are most culturally similar to Koreans, North Koreans, and South Koreans. All right, so the question is, regions of my ancestors, if I want to travel there, so I have one trip per country, like modern country. So I have a United States of America trip, which Duwamish is here, Seattle area, and then Washington State more generally, and then Lakota's Minnesota. And so currently, so the problem here is we are so oppressed, and there are so many invaders, and occupation is so severe that the places to go to get the culture or heritage and enjoy lands like my ancestors did, the invaders are so bad and the occupation has reached such ugly levels that might not be possible. So then where in the world, fortunately, other countries in the world care about the original peoples of their lands. And a lot of countries still have large original people populations. So the United States of America is an example of that not being abnormal in a bad way. And so I was thinking, well, I have spoken previously that per my classification experience kind of thing, that my Lakota ancestors are most similar to the Chinese, and my Duwamish ancestors are most culturally similar to Koreans. So why not, since there's not really a dedication in the United States of America to the original peoples, perhaps looking to these places, right? Both China and North and South Korea are far more caring about the original peoples, and that comes through to this day in terms of who lives there and their culture. And so I'm thinking an alternative, right, a cultural trade would be I have classified that to be the case, that these are most culturally similar. So of all ethnicities in the universe, my Duwamish part of me is most like the Koreans. Okay. And of all of the humans in the universe, my Lakota me is most like the Chinese. Okay. So I could, in a cultural trade, go to, instead of one trip, so I have a one trip per country rule. So treat it in that sense, still like it would be a trip to the United States of America. But go to North and or South Korea, depending on travel regulations and who's allowed there, and China, and treat it as one trip, so it's still in the spirit of one country. And I could try something like that. I think there's a bit of, the languages are a bit different than European languages, but the languages of my Native American ancestors are a bit different than European languages. So in that sense, I might feel uncomfortable, but I might also not feel uncomfortable. There's different types of uncomfortable, and that's the learning kind, and I think that'd be right. So that'd be one test. Like if I did go for myself, is if I went and I'm like, this is like super foreign language to me, and I don't feel uncomfortable, then that it being most culturally similar might be, that's a check mark for the yes category. Right. But going and seeing when I am not something, like I am 0 parts Spanish and 0 parts Portuguese. It's very obvious when I interact with things that are Spanish, Portuguese. That's not me. Right, when it so essentially providing an allowance for assessing whether that classification is still true and still feels true after going to those places, and maybe learning, right? Like I see something and I'm like, that's like me but not me, that might be a cultural similarity, right? So I might actually learn something about my Duwamish and Lakota ancestors if I go, okay, I see something, I eat something or something like that, and I'm like, this is like me but not me, how would it be me? And then, you know, go, is this a Lakota thing? It is, oh my gosh, right? Like, so there's like a self-discovery component to it. Am I gonna go and eat egg dishes in the countries? I note that eggs are important in both of those countries. And in terms of dishes, like, that make that a focal point of, like, I might not know any of the language, or like, and I've not ever been to Asia, even in like just this layover at an airport. But like, eggs are my guide, and bon appetits were, you know, stuff, like on location stuff, like, you know, that kind of thing. So yeah, so it's something I'm thinking about, right? This is about pondering it on the potential for a cultural trade. It would be, so assessing the potential there, it would be great for me in terms of getting just a basic, can I imagine actually going to that place and being like, wow, I don't feel uncomfortable without knowing any of the language, and like, you know, that stuff like that. Like, that would be a huge, like, well, one check mark, you know, kind of thing. That per my own life story, there's harmony there. So that would be very cool. I think it's also something in terms of removing the occupation of land. So like, let's take the University of Washington campus. They've removed a lot of the native species and brought in invasive species from, you know, like Japan and stuff. And it's kind of like, our native species need something else to be truly thriving in their existence. And, you know, you keep making them more and more threatened species, right? So at some point, we hope that, you know, the invaders and the occupiers leave and or correct their behaviors, because it is inappropriate, disheartening, and at the end of the day shames us Native Americans. All right, they lack heart and soul, and we hope eventually they choose not to be condemned, or at least try some redemptive activities. So, like, perhaps the Rose of Sharon tree, the national tree, right, from when my name was Kyoko, right, if that's still the kind of thing, of Korea, would be a better fit because for the University of Washington campus than Japanese trees, if we are indeed more culturally similar to the Koreans, right? Like, if we can't have our stuff, then perhaps get the most similar, instead of just kind of people wanting pictures and to further trample us, which is certainly the pure white, and it extends beyond pure white, right? People who are not Native American, kind of, not everybody, but there's a culture of just trying to kill us all that do have Native American blood. Remove that. That goes back to where you are from. And if you don't learn that, you can die or go back, right? There's like, or go somewhere else. That's welcome. Those are all welcome options. So there we go. On the potentials, I would go yes. And then in some ways, I think that would be like a huge, like, internal check, but also there's potential for, if I learn something, to bring it back home, which I think is very cool. And it makes me a little excited, but so yes on the potential, but not certainty. There we go. That's on the potential for a cultural trade for my Heritage Travel Trip series.